Randy Robinson at Life Today TV. I am here with the campus pastor and vice president of Liberty University, Johnnie Moore. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, it's good to be with you.
You've got a book called Honestly. What are you trying to say to people? What are you trying to communicate with this idea of honestly speaking out?
I mean, the subtitle kind of gives the biggest explanation of it. The subtitle is Really Living What We Say We Believe. Okay. And if I were to sum up my mission in writing the book in like one sentence, it would be the total eradication of hypocrisy from the church, because it's about time. For 2,000 years, this has been our biggest problem. Christians say one thing, they do something else, and the problem is that it actually hurts us as people. And so I've opened the wounds of my own heart, talked about a lot of my experiences being disillusioned with the church, like a lot of 20-something Christians in America. But my goal was not to fuel that disillusionment, but actually lead my reader to a place where maybe the wound is patched a little, and we are maybe have a really good excuse to be a little upset with the way Christians live their lives and what the church has done to us. But we don't have an excuse to ignore what Christianity really is.
Do you think that some of the reason for the hypocrisy is because we do have standards? I mean, because if you have no standards, then you will exceed them every time. But being human, if you have high standards, if you have standards that are higher than us, godly standards, it's kind of being set up for failure in a sense. Does any of that kind of come into play, do you think?
Yeah, but isn't that what's so interesting about Christianity is that it's in our failure that God comes to us the most. And so I had to be clear that what I'm saying isn't that we shouldn't be hypocrites. It's just that we shouldn't be content as hypocrites. You know, there are two kinds of hypocrites. They're the accidental ones, and then they're purposeful ones. And we're all in one of those places at any given time. What's not okay is to stay in that place, or to let the hypocrisy of other people give us some kind of excuse to not take our faith seriously.
Right. That's always been one of my pet peeves when people say, I don't want to go to church because they're all hypocrites. And I'm like, God never called us to be like Christians. He called us to be like Christ.
Yeah.
So
and Jesus was toughest on the hypocrites, wasn't he?
He absolutely was.
He called them snakes and all these other things.
Well, the funny thing is,
tame little Jesus.
The ones with the biggest failures, he said, go and sin no more. I don't condemn you. That's what he told the prostitute. I don't condemn you. Go and sin no more.
And this book isn't like a judgmental book.
No, I don't hear that. Yeah. I don't hear that. So,
it's a book about grace.
You're encouraging people.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, does any of this stem from your association with Liberty? Because Liberty has been just dragged through the mud over the ages, usually wrongly, but as a place that holds up a high standard.
Yeah. I mean, to some degree, anytime you live in a Christian environment that is known for proclaiming truth, and there's a big difference at Liberty between the media stereotype of the university and between who we actually are.
What do you see both of those as being? What do you think the media stereotype is?
The media stereotype is that we're a Bible boot camp where a bunch of people live in this commune on top of a mountain conspiring how they can take over the world. And in actuality, I mean, it's if we didn't stand up and say that the Bible is the Word of God or that Jesus rose from the dead, we would be liars. That's what we believe. So when people step up to us and they condemn us for our theological convictions, I mean, what do you expect us to be? I mean, do you want me... If I believe that you're going to hell because you don't know Jesus, and I choose not to tell you that, then I'm like hell.
You're like a doctor who finds out that someone has cancer, but you don't want to tell them.
Yeah, and
what kind of doctor is that, right?
No doctor at all.
Right.
And so I think people think that our motivation is somehow judgment, and we're just one more voice telling you you're not good enough. When in actuality, our motivation is mercy. And for instance, Liberty's known for being a pro-life institution. That's marched on Capitol Hill against abortion. What people don't realize is, from the very beginning, we have a godparent home on our physical campus. We give scholarships to these unwed mothers.
Okay.
So we're their godparent.
Okay.
So for every position that might be unpopular in culture we've taken, we've always tried to also be a healer to culture.
You're not just calling out the problem; you're presenting a solution.
Yeah. We're not content to just wave signs and protest. We understand. For instance, I'm a pastor of 20-somethings. and 3 times a week we have a convocation with 10,000 students. It's the largest weekly gathering of Christian students in the country. When I stand up and teach in that convocation, and I say that we should be pro-life, what I have in the back of my brain is, if the statistics are correct, there's a large number of girls in this room that have been intimately affected with this. There are girls in that room that have had an abortion. And the last thing I want to do is be a judgmental voice, because the grace of God is so much louder than any of that. And so I think what they think is that all we think about is what's right and what's wrong, when in actuality, I've cried a whole lot more tears for that one girl or that dozen or hundreds in the crowd when we're teaching about abortion, for instance, that have been affected by it. And so we have like 20 staff members. All they do are counsel students that are dealing with these kinds of things. And so this book that I've written, honestly, is just that. It's honest. It is a gut-level, honest conversation about things like doubt and why we feel so spiritually sick, and how can we believe God is real when there's genocide in Rwanda and when our life falls apart, and why we profess this Christianity that's powerful enough to change the world, but it's not strong enough to change me. You know, we just need to talk about that stuff, and that's kind of what I've tried to do.
Cool. How can people get in touch with you or find out more about your book?
I mean, they can go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble, Borders, any of those places, and Google Johnnie Moore Honestly, or they can go to my website, johnnymoore.org. Johnnnie, not the Y.
Yeah, we'll put it on the screen. Cool. Thank you for taking time to spend a little bit of time with us, share your heart, and do check out his book, Honestly, and check out his website right there. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you. Good to be with you.